Oh, ladies and gentlemen, and we're live. All right, well, welcome back. So this is Soul Reaver 2. We should be just about done. I mean, I don't know when this game ends, so who knows where we leave off at. But we are in the midst of trying to save Janos Aldrin, so we got to be close. Right, we're about to run in the room.
Hold him! Look at his black heart. How it still beats.
Oh, God.
The fiend intends to bury us alive. Raziel, we must get out of here.
Remember the sword!
Forgive me. I'm sorry. I failed you.
No, Razia. Perhaps this was my true purpose. Simply to save your life this once.
While I have taken yours.
Embrace your destiny, Razia. You must reclaim the Reaver. It was forged for you and you alone. Without it, there is no hope.
As I backed away from Janos's body, I was overwhelmed by a sense of self-loathing so deep I could barely contain it. In that instant, I rejected all that I ever was, and embraced the role Janos had safeguarded for me so patiently throughout the centuries. I knew then what I had to do, the task for which I was uniquely prepared. I would pursue the Sarafan dogs to their loathsome fortress and avenge Janos Aldrin's murder. Mobius would pay dearly for his treachery, and my Sarafan brethren would reap the horrors they had sown. I would retake the stolen Reaver, which was rightfully mine. And finally, when all these debts had been paid, I would reclaim Janos Aldrin's heart from their filthy, unworthy hands. If the heart was truly imbued with the power to restore vampiric unlife, its highest purpose was clear to me. I would restore the heart to Janos, and thus undo the vile crime committed by my abominable former self.
So much to unpack there. Okay, first of all, that scene with him standing on the edge, we saw in the time stream at the end of 1. We didn't know what it meant by him holding this red blade, but now it comes to fruition. And then it turns out that he was the one to single-handedly take out Janos Aldrin. That is wild. There's so many questions that got sparked up. One, how did Janos know who he was? And then he was also the one that pretty much the Soul Reaver was made for. Safeguarded by Janos until he returned. it's just so wild. Like everything's starting to come full circle, quite literally.
We've been expecting you, little Raziel.
So, these demonic pests were not merely the product of Nosgoth's corrupted future. For here they were, hurtling back over 5 centuries to pursue me. These creatures, I suspected, were minions of the unseen forces that had hoped to control me. This was the tangible expression of their displeasure. These demons were unleashed as the penalty for my disobedience.
It's really funny to me that he called the Seraphim dogs, especially the entire time where he was like just praising the hell.
Do you really think you can say Nosgoth? Let me enlighten you, poor Raziel.
So in the first one, he was totally praising the Seraphim, being like, we were holy warriors. And now we really get to see what kind of warriors they were. Just these devastating, just butchers, more or less. Like, it's crazy.
There he is, the savior of Nosgoth.
You know what's really crazy is that this reminds me a lot of like the demons and such that we were fighting in Blood Omen. looks like he's over there.
Come to me.
That's him.
Return to hell. Return to hell. Free your soul, demon.
Maybe I can just get a little help from somebody.
Guard me, brothers!
Return to hell.
Oh my god, this dude's huge.
Come closer, Raziel.
Free your soul, demon.
I wonder how well thrown it is in this game.
There's one.
just swamp sounds. I was like, what's this chime up here? The one dude back there going, what the hell is going on? Isn't that my line? I'm really glad there's that cutscene to let me know I can block that. Crazy that this place is all cleaned out now. This has anything to do with the benefactor. I feel like going backwards, you're gonna need a lot of stuff to get there. Luckily, it's not the direction we're headed. Anything to say after all of this? Like you've learned the lies, they're all lying to you, Raziel. No, here we go.
You have failed me, Raziel.
I wonder, Old One, did you truly resurrect me? Or were you simply there when I awakened from my torment in the abyss? I suspect you found me merely convenient, dropped in your lair by Kain, indestructible for some reason, a durable and gullible tool for you to manipulate. This one thing I readily admit. I have been used by others time and again, but always I seem to stray from their path. What is it about me, demon, that makes me such an unreliable instrument? Why do I survive one trial after another, on and on, in an endless succession of humiliating deaths and resurrections? It seems there is much more to my destiny and my history than I know. Perhaps more than you know as well.
I do appreciate it shows you what forges you unlock, but I mean, besides like knowing where your progression is, there isn't anything like super unique about it. But it is a cool little thing, because I want to say in the first one, yeah, I don't know. I thought there was one of them that showed you, hey, you're this far because you have this many keys. You know what I mean? Right, like, was that wicked creature us? It could easily be depicted as, like, Yano Soldier. But, I don't know. It seems like there's, like he said, more to our history than we know. And it's just pretty interesting that, like, one of the ancient vampires knows who we are. We had something to do with the making of the blade. I don't know, maybe even more than that. Oh, I'm getting ready to kick the bucket.
He thinks he can change his destiny.
What a fool.
This is kind of a throwback, fighting giant demons at this place. Alright, they're gonna pop Yeah, I was gonna say they're like nether people.
Come to me.
So that we can. Arguably, not that either. Like, we can block it and we don't get stunned.
We will rid Nosgoth of your kind. Free your soul. Free your soul, demon.
Guard me, brothers!
Return to hell.
Oh yeah, I don't have wind anymore. But it would be up here. And like I said, most of this looks like this is just in case you're trying to get back to stuff. Like, it seems like the story progression forward is very, you know, I don't want to say cut and dry, but cut and dry. But if you wanted to go back for like anything else, you would really need to go against some stuff. So what makes me think is that now that we have the powers that we do, there's probably a secret power that we get, and then you would have to go back and really sift through everything.
Guard me, brothers!
You can act like I won't spam this move until you're dead.
Get
There's another one! Free your soul, demon!
God, this guy got some moves. Oh, dang it. I wasn't even going to kill you. And yet here you are being a jerk. Yeah, so there was this. That's like now fire. And it looks like winter's upon us because I don't remember this being frozen. So that explains it. There wasn't really many of those. There they are.
God help us.
A little surprised, like no ambush or anything. my gosh.
Guard me, brothers.
Free your soul, demon!
I will say this place is pretty pristine this time.
Suddenly and inexplicably, I discovered the Reaver suspiciously laid across my path. Again, I sensed nothing of that temporal distortion, the peculiar sense of displacement I had felt when I encountered the Reaver in William's chapel. Cornered here with the blade, I suffered the same nameless dread that I had experienced when Janos first presented the Reaver to me. I felt at once repelled by the blade, and yet overwhelmingly compelled to seize it.
So, Raziel, here we are, finally. You have no choice but to confront me now, and I am not so foolish as I've let you believe. We have business to conclude.
You knew I would lead the Seraphim to Janos, you vile bastard. You've been orchestrating my every move. My destiny is an amusement to you.
It was fun while it lasted. I think not, Raziel. Malik, do not let this creature leave. He poses a danger to the Circle. Poor, deluded Raziel. Did you somehow imagine you had the guile to change history on me? I'm the Time Streamer. I knew your every intention before you did, you imbecile.
Lord Mobius, there is trouble within. The Circle is under
Hold
attack.
fast, Malik. This one is the real danger to us.
What are you trying to concoct here, Mobius?
You toxic creature. Did you imagine I'd simply allow you to run loose, corrupting everything you encounter?
I admit that I've underestimated you to this point, Mobius. But it's a mistake I won't repeat.
Wrong again, Raziel. Now, Malik, bolt the door.
Using his staff to disable my Wraithblade, Mobius effectively disarmed me, leaving me with only one choice of weapon. And yet I confess, it was not the lack of options, but blind rage that made me take up the Reaver. In my fury, it felt as though my hand had acted of its own will. And now, that same hand clutched the hilt with unyielding strength, and I felt a constrained tingling, a remote but palpable sense of longing, as the disabled Wraithblade tried vainly to embrace its physical twin.
Holy Lordra. So Malik of the Seraphim is who you battle in Blood Omen 1, and he shows up late while Vorador is slaughtering most of the Circle. This is why. This is the craziest thing ever. The fact that he was here and Mobius knew everything. Crazy. And now we have the weapon.
Come to take your revenge, demon.
Back to hell with you!
I recognize these two as my former brethren, In life as Sarafan, and in unlife as Kain's vampire sons. Melchiah and Zephon, the weakest of Kain's brood. These bastards had no idea what future lay in store for them, how they would become the very thing they so despised. The Reaver hummed with ravenous anticipation. Janos had called it a vampiric blade, endowed with the power to drain its victims of their lifeblood. I was eager to see what the Reaver would do to these two.
It's hilarious because these are the first two bosses that you go up against in Soul Reaver. Oh my god, their attack team is pretty good. I'm actually not losing any health, which is crazy.
Melchiah and Zephon fell before my blade. I felt the Reaver's bloodthirst as keenly as I ever had when I was still a vampire. I could sense the boundary between us dissolving. The Reaver was consumed with my rage, and I was intoxicated by its bloodlust. The blade had a vitalizing effect on me. My physical energy no longer decayed over time, and the wounds inflicted by my foes healed almost instantly. The Reaver had made me invincible.
Come to reclaim the monster's black heart.
You'll have to get through us first.
My former brethren, Duma and Rahab, confronted me next. This all seemed so elegantly choreographed. Exhilarated by the Reaver, I was drunk with revelations. I could finally appreciate the delicious irony of Kain's blasphemous private joke. And I reveled as I colluded with him across the centuries. For it was I who put these bastards in their tomb, thus providing the corpses for Kain to raise as his vampire sons a millennium from now.
The third and fourth books. Yeah, when he was like, did you enjoy killing your brothers? Which is crazy.
Get back to the pit you crawled from, demon.
And here at last was my brother Turel, who along with Duma would bear me into the abyss without questioning Kain's command. So dutiful and righteous, even as a vampire. I guess some habits die hard. The vampire Turel had eluded my vengeance. The Sarafan Turel would not.
That's right, we didn't kill him. This guy's quick. It's quiet. Too quiet.
So, vampire, here we are. You've destroyed my brethren, and now you've come for me. You'll find I'm not such easy prey. I don't want to kill you, but I will if I must. Return the heart to me, and we can end this now. So, you've come to avenge that filthy parasite and reclaim his foul heart. You're a righteous fiend, aren't you? Apparently I am. No, vampire. This is where it ends.
but you won't be leaving this room. Now, let's finish this. I'll make it mercifully quick. As you did for Janos? No, that beast had eluded us for far too long. It would have been a shame to end him too quickly. It's ironic, really. The great Janos Ordrin turned out to be no challenge at all. Thanks to you. Did you hear his cowardly screams when I tore that black heart out of his carcass?
Talk about my friend like that. This is like the most epic thing I've seen.
I renounce you. And so it ends. My history comes full circle.
Sensing its twin, the Wraithblade uncoiled itself from me, and instead wound lovingly around its former self. I felt its grip loosen, and as the blade left me, its absence chilled me more than its presence ever had. A foreboding sense of emptiness and loss stole over me, and a terrible revelation gathered like a storm at the edge of my awareness. With all other foes exhausted, the conjoined blades turned themselves on me, and I realized, finally, why I had sensed nothing when Janos offered me the blade. The Reaver was never forged to be a soul-stealing weapon. The ravenous, soul-devouring entity trapped in the blade was, and always had been, me. This is why the blade was destroyed when Kain tried to strike me down. The Reaver could not devour its own soul. The paradox shattered the blade. So, this was my terrible destiny. To play out this purgatorial cycle for all eternity. I could not bear it. Despair overwhelmed me. You.
Are you enjoying this, Kain? Don't fight it, Raziel. Give into it. Was this your destiny for me all along? Trust me.
I felt myself weakening, unable to hold on any longer. The Reaver was too strong. the compulsion to simply let go too great. And then, a growing sense of vertigo and the familiar displacement. The paradoxical moment when my twin soul hovered both outside and inside the Reaver blade. This was the instant, the glimmer of temporal distortion Kain had been counting on all along. This was the edge of the coin, the minute flicker of probability upon which Kain had gambled everything.
Now you are free to reclaim your true destiny, Raziel.
Behind Kain's eyes, I could see new memories blooming and dying as history labored to reshuffle itself around this monumental obstruction. And I could see by the dawning horror on his face that perhaps we had strained history too far this time. That by trying to alter my fate, he may have introduced a fatal paradox.
My God. The Hilden. We walked right into their trap. Raziel, Janos must stay dead.
But Kain's warning was lost as I slipped into the spirit realm, too weak to maintain my physical form. And there, waiting for me as always, was the Reaver, the Wraithblade, my own soul, twinned and bound eternally to me. And I realized that I could never escape my terrible destiny. I had merely postponed it. History abhors a paradox.
Oh my gosh. That is beyond insane. So the Wraithblade was him the entire time because the actual timeline is that he kills himself and his soul goes into the Reaver. And since time had already written that, the final thing that we saw was him standing in the old Janos Aldrin's keep with the Fire Wraithblade, he eventually gets absorbed into the blade that later gets found by Kain. So then when he uses on Raziel, it totally averts itself and then forms back to him because that is the host that it's supposed to be. But the only form it has, because it can't be Raziel, is the blade. Oh my gosh. And that's why it fixes the blade. It is weirdly gleeful when it's by the blade. And it's his soul, the old Wraithblade, giving him the feeling of like, oh no, when it looks at the blade. That's the dread. In the key moment of when he's dying and going in, because there's the dual soul where I assume it's his Wraithblade trying to leave and then his regular soul being absorbed into the blade, making the full circle, which means that all of the paradoxes up until that point are for naught. That's crazy. So like, let's see here. The first paradox is Kain using the sword, which instead of summoning the Nemesis, which is the main timeline, they get diverted into the Time Streamer's army. I don't know if they ever gave him Mobius's army. So then the next one is that Kain is supposed to die. So the event that was supposed to happen is that since the Nemesis got changed, that Kain dies at the cathedral. Or no, that Raziel... I don't know. So if Raziel is the... paradox. So he was supposed to get killed there. But it can't happen because of the dual soul. So instead, he survives, and the Wraith Blade just goes on to him because that's his natural host. So if the regular time happened, and let's say everything was supposed to go as normal, I assume William the Just would eventually have died there, the Nemesis. Kain would have taken over like normal, and then killed Raziel right there, and then probably learned nothing. Or, yeah, went into the future or the past and realized there was nothing he could do. And then, but since William was diverted, it switched that course, which therefore led to... See, and this is where time really starts getting weird. It's like, so if his soul was already in the blade and he was the one to kill the Seraphan people, then he is the cause and the reason of them all becoming vampires, right? So that's his loop, is that he dies, become a wraith, goes back, kills the Seraphan, becomes the Wraith Blade. But since it happened in the past, it can't cause anything in the future. So for that to be a paradox and then be a paradox thing already is really weird. It's like time abhors paradoxes, but it can't prevent the moment of the paradox. It only changes everything post paradox. So then, okay, yeah, because it's like going up to William the Just, this was the normal timeline, but it shot over here. Going up to Raziel, but the normal loop of that would have been either A, Raziel died, or he didn't die and he just turned into the Wraith, right? He just went into the astral realm. And then, which is crazy because it's supposed to eat your life soul, which is basically, well, your life blood, which is basically your soul. I guess, arguably. Because it wasn't a Wraith Blade, it just drained your blood. So it would have killed him there, he would have went in the astral realm, came back, went over to Kain, and then they would have fought. And then he was going to kill him in the future. And that would have been the end of him, and then probably still killed the Seraphan people. Because he would have still went out to seek answers, went back in time, killed his brothers, and then ended up becoming the Wraith Blade anyway. So then, thus started a new paradox when he died, and he gained the Wraith Blade. And then that led to the paradox of the blade breaking in the past, which was when Kain swung it at him. So when they went there, he found another blade that was broken, he forged it, and then that was when he was supposed to kill. Because that's really weird. That blade gets fixed by the Wraith Blade that is then used to kill Kain. So if that blade is never fixed, I mean, I guess he could kill him with the broken piece. There's nothing wrong with that. Even though arguably in the original timeline, Kain would still have a Soul Reaver at that point. So unless he got that Soul Reaver at some point, or he used the broken Soul Reaver to kill Kain, that is how that's supposed to end. But he diverts it by not killing him. So then he finishes what would be his loop, right? Because the original loop is that Kain dies at the altar. Which could have been by the Wraith Blade, could have been by the Broken Blade, who knows. So then it goes to his final loop, where his loop is that he's supposed to be absorbed, but Kain, now being alive for that moment, can prevent it, thus causing another paradox. Which also doesn't explain how is he recognized by Janos Uldren? Why is the blade made in general for Raziel if he never goes far back enough to orchestrate it? And if he gets trapped in the blade, like the Z-Sword, then none of that can necessarily happen, because that is before the events of even this game, or the past of this game. So there's still like a huge cliffhanger to explain, why is the sword made? How is Janos Uldren aware of what Raziel is? Why is Raziel's form so appalled to Janos? Because it seems like he becomes an actual winged guy without being a wraith. And that's another reason why the old adversary was calling him my soul Reaver, because he is a soul Reaver, essentially. Oh my gosh, it's so many questions, so many things going on. I don't even know how long we've been streaming. It doesn't feel that very long. We pretty much had like the straight shot. I think if I streamed it a little bit last time, we could have done it, but I was getting pretty wild out by the mistiming of the audio. So now this is where it is. The new memories that he has is supposed to be Blood Omen 2. That's what I believe. So, what is Blood Omen 2? Who are the Hilden? And why can't Janos Uldren come back? Because that was Raziel's final thing, is that I need to get the heart back and I need to save Janos Uldren. So, probably because Janos Uldren's the only dude who's been properly telling him what the hell's going on. He wants to learn his history. How does Janos Uldren know who he is? What does he know of him? And just everything else. Just like, tell me everything. From the dawn of the great ancient vampires till basically when we met up. I need to know all of it. Oh my gosh. For a second game? Okay, so let's review this game. The gameplay, kick-ass. I really enjoyed how the powers are used. The only thing I noticed is that they took out the spinning kind of paralyzed move that we used for different puzzles and such. Totally fine. That move, that power really wasn't great, in my opinion. I think it might have been more effective, but it was really tough to, like, because there was latency for it to start activating, and then you had to use it. There was only like 4 or 5 different locations. There was the main place, which was the place of the Seraphim, the swamp, the mountain pass in between, the Ushtenhain, where the village was, and then basically the keep where Janos was. And then there was a couple like underwater areas, and then of course some of the forges. But really, it was just that places, and then we explored them through each time zone because it was A to B. So I mean, looking back at it, you could be like, that's not great, but I think it was pretty well used because each time was very unique. Like, you ran through and then you had to run back, right? Because we realized, oh, we can't hit all these places in this time. So then we go back and have to go back in time, and then we're in the future, the way distant, crazy future, probably because of one of the paradoxes. Or it's post when we left, and that's what Nosgoth ends up becoming with everyone gone. Like, it just slowly is eating itself. And then demons or whatever are there. I can only assume that the benefactor being left alone had something to do with how that world was so corrupt. So then we go back into the past and everything's pretty pristine. Yeah, because when it turned into the dark, we had to pretty much go all the way through. We made it to the mountain, got the new forge, and then we had to come all the way back, use the time stream in the swamp, and then we had to go get Janos, finally figure that out, and then go all the way to the beginning. Like, it was one back, one back, one back, and it is a really cool way to use the same locations and be telling a story the entire time, because you're like, I'm seeing it in this beautiful place. Nosgoth is really beautiful. Like, when we saw it in Blood Omen, it was really fantastic. So then to experience it in 3 different times, one time that we roughly know, even though it's a little bit before the events, a time that we really didn't want to see, and then a time probably right before, because it was like what? It was right before about 30 years because Kain dies. Way distant future and then way distant past. So to see this place in 3 different paints was really neat. In comparison to Soul Reaver 1, where you're pretty much journeying through all of Nosgoth, seeing all of the territories and how they affect everything. Like we got to see, was it Newt Raptor's keep? And I'm sure that there was some other things that I missed. I didn't skim through all of Blood Omen, so I mean I could have missed some references in 1, but it was really cool to go from all of Nosgoth to all of Nosgoth. This one, it's just like a certain dedicated strip, but it's because we really wanted to go to this area. And arguably, we didn't go to Ushtenhain in Soul Reaver 1. So in Soul Reaver 1, you could argue that we didn't explore all of Nosgoth. But all I can say, the story, phenomenal. Like, they really dove into the purpose. Like, 1 was the Blood Omen was the cause and effect of everything. And it was just a basic story of revenge and then being like, no, I'm not going to fall to this ultimate choice that was left for me when I don't get a choice. And then 2, or Soul Reaver, is once again 2 stories. I said it last time. It's 2 stories. It's Kain realizing the cause and effect of his choice and probably stumbling into the time stream and realizing that a lot of the events that we are doing is realizing that it's already on a timeline, and he probably saw where he died. But the crazy thing is that he probably saw his death, right? His death at the church. And then he probably watched Raziel's continuous journey up till killing him. I assume he didn't have the Wraith Blade in that timeline because it didn't exist. He probably killed him either with Kain's Soul Reaver, the Broken Soul Reaver, or just other means. And then killed the Seraphin and then ultimately fell to it. Maybe this is why he resurrected all of them anyway. Or it was post, who knows. And then he realizes that it didn't matter because everything was going to make a full circle, the Wheel of Fate. How do we get off of the wheel, break the wheel, and do something where Nosgoth isn't totally destroyed? Because I assume that he could probably watch what happened to Nosgoth too. So then he found a way to, and he was trying to figure it out. But then he realized that he had become the blade. And since it was in the past, Raziel's soul was already in his blade because he's noticing it. Who's to say he didn't realize it in the first timeline? Because the first time it happened, everything has to come to fruition. So it had to have been the second or third time, one of the times down the line. Maybe one time he just sat there trying to talk to him. Maybe one time he doesn't kill Raziel, and for some reason it happens anyway. And all of these events, no matter what, correspond. And he's probably studied it so much, he's like, this is the best time that leads to this point. I don't think he kills Raziel and throws him in the lake of fire, or rips off his wings and throws him in the lake of fire for, out of a whim, out of jealousy. I think he had read and studied the time, and then his posture pickup goes, oh my god, this is the moment. I had to wait for his wings, and now he has his wings. So then he goes, I need to do this. So he throws him in, causing the cause and effect of this particular timeline of what's going to happen. And then he realizes, well, due to the events, he's right now in the Reaver, and he wanted to see, and it's the cause effect of 2 Reavers clashing, which he knew due to him and Williams. So now let's test it for Raziel, because he's in it, and since a soul can't eat a soul, he does it, and then the Wraith Blade is made. And he probably was studying the timeline of what happened. He goes, okay, even with the Wraith Blade, now this blade can get fixed, which may or may not have had any cause of effect in the original timeline anyway. Like I said, he could have killed him with the broken Reaver, Kain's Reaver, or just with like his bare hands. But since it got fixed, it was now angry. Who's to say if that wasn't time pulling, if that wasn't the original Raziel trying to kill Kain, or what? But this Raziel prevents it, causing a new timeline diversion of Kain's story. But Raziel's story still has to make its full loop. But now that Kain is alive, he's there to fix Raziel's story, and now both of their timelines can continue in a really weird direction. But since that has happened in the past, the future has to change. Because in order for anything to change, the past can't change, but the future can. Right? The Nemesis never happens. Raziel can't kill Raziel. I mean, it kills his physical body, but the blade breaks due to the paradox. So that creates, I would say, essentially another paradox. Right, because the Wraith Blade is not made. And then Kain doesn't die, which means he's supposed to die somewhere else, possibly. And then with Raziel not dying, that affects Kain's future somehow. Because something else happens, the Hilden get something or another, and because of that, Raziel's story changes and Kain's story changes due to Raziel not becoming essentially the Wraith Blade, because the paradox is that since the Wraith Blade exists, he was supposed to become the Wraith Blade, but it already exists and is now into that Soul Reaver, that particular Soul Reaver that was supposed to harness the Wraith Blade. But since it already has one, the paradox of the two souls is happening. Which means that Wraith Blade still has, that Soul Reaver still has a Wraith Blade in it, right? No, because it's still attached to Raziel. So the Wraith Blade never gets technically made in this timeline. Which means Raziel himself is now a walking paradox. Arguably, you could say Kain is too, because they're both in a timeline they're not supposed to exist, but due to the will of fate, they were supposed to be there. But now the Soul Reaver doesn't have a Wraith Blade in it. And it was never created. So Raziel's a literal paradox. Like, he is not supposed to exist beyond this point. And I think that's what the crazy change was. Kain not dying only means that it's supposed to happen later. Raziel not forming the Wraith Blade means that his first paradox moment of gaining the Wraith Blade cannot exist. It's, oh my god, it's mind-blowing. I could sit here and probably try to chop up the timeline for, all night. But it is beyond insane. Super cool, super fun. I actually can't wait for us to try Blood Omen 2. We might actually try to do a part 1 later on tonight. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned. Make sure you're following along if you love these games, because I'm really liking, and I think I'm starting to really love these games. I always thought that they were really cool looking. But now that you're actually getting here and getting the nitty gritty, there's just 1,000 questions. The timeline makes sense, except for the Yano Soldier bit. Because we haven't gotten how that loop happens. How is Raziel? Unless... No, because when he turns into the Wraith, Janos would have recognized him. But somehow he didn't recognize him as a Wraith. But he knew who Raziel was. So something happens there. maybe reincarnation, maybe Raziel was always supposed to exist, but then got reincarnated as a human. Who's to say? But man, I'm thinking I'm gonna end up probably doing a part at least tonight on it, a quick part maybe. We'll see. Well, with that, ladies and gentlemen, yeah, if you're enjoying these, I got tons of other cool stuff that's coming. We got the last hero of Nostalgaia. We're doing our Fable playthrough of 1, 2, and 3 and our Evil playthroughs. We had already done the Righteous one, so if you're really interested in seeing those and me experiencing the stories kind of again, because I hadn't played them in years. I didn't even really remember one. But if you're interested in seeing the Righteous kind of canon takes, go check out YouTube. I got all of the parts up there, and I'm starting to send over the Evil playthroughs. But we're going to do 1, 2, 3 there. Like I said, we're doing the last hero of Nostalgaia. It's a Souls-like, but it's a very unique one. So if you're interested in seeing that kind of stuff, come hang out there too. Or follow along on Twitch. And then we're doing all of the Legacy of Kain games. We just finished up 2, so we're going to be doing Blood Omen, and then we're going to be doing Defiance. And then there's a new one supposed to come out at the end of the month, so we'll be checking that out as well. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate each and every one of you. Be safe, be kind. Go check out YouTube. Check out the Instagram and TikTok. I send over really cool parts, really cool clips over there. I send them to YouTube as well, so if you miss anything, just go check out YouTube. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, be safe, be kind. I'll catch you in the next one. Bye, everybody.